Have you ever found yourself wishing you could be the kind of person nothing could shake? Someone who doesn't flinch in the face of criticism, rejection, or betrayal. Someone who no longer feels that quiet ache gnawing away inside, the kind of ache you hide behind a polite smile or a calm exterior. Maybe you're just exhausted, tired of keeping up this image of someone who's always strong, always resilient, always composed. Maybe deep down, all you've wanted is a brief moment of relief from this exhausting performance of being untouchable. But here's something few people will dare to tell you. As long as you keep running from pain, pain will keep running your life. The more you try to numb yourself, to hide, to protect, to pretend, the more you stay trapped, hostage to the world around you. You remain chained to the words that hurt, the actions that disappoint, the silence that feels like a knife twisting in your chest. And no, this doesn't make you weak. It just makes you human. The truth is, everyone feels this way. Some people are just better at hiding it than others. Carl Jung, one of the most influential voices in depth psychology, once said, "We are not what happens to us, we are what we choose to become." That's where the key lies. It's not about hiding from the world. It's not about becoming cold or indifferent or emotionally bulletproof. The answer isn't in numbing yourself, it's in facing yourself. It's in bringing to light the things you've tried to bury in the dark corners of your mind. Because real strength isn't found in the absence of pain. Real strength is the quiet clarity of knowing exactly who you are, even while you're still bleeding. If you've stayed with me this far, it's not random. This video is for you. It's for those of you who are tired of feeling like you're always one step behind, like you're constantly at some unseen emotional disadvantage. For those of you who feel like everyone else holds some invisible power over you. Power you don't fully understand. But here's the truth. It doesn't have to stay this way. However, you'll need to face some uncomfortable realities to break free truths that may sting at first. But that sting, that's the beginning of healing. Let's dive in. You might believe the things that hurt you come from outside, from what others say, what they do, from betrayals you didn't see coming or losses you weren't ready for. But the hard truth is this: none of that really has the power to hurt you unless there's already a wound inside you waiting to be touched. What truly hurts isn't what others do. What hurts is what their actions awaken inside you. It's the stories you've been telling yourself, and the old trauma left unhealed, the empty spaces you've tried to fill with strength, pride, or that desperate need to appear fine. Jung teaches us that the pain we feel from the outside world is simply a mirror reflecting what we've refused to integrate within ourselves. That's why some people can weather life's worst storms and remain calm while others crumble over a single careless comment. It's not about what happens to us. It's about where it hits us. And here's another truth that's probably going to make you uncomfortable. The reason you still hurt so much is that deep down, you're still clinging to the illusion that you can control how the world treats you. You're still trying to be good enough, smart enough, kind enough, strong enough, as if that guarantees no one will hurt you. But control, it's just that, an illusion. And the more you cling to it, the more you live in constant tension, trying to predict what can't be predicted, trying to avoid the unavoidable. Want to stop hurting so much? Then stop trying to protect yourself from hurt. You don't need more control. What you need is more awareness. As long as you believe that people need to change for you to stop suffering, you will remain a prisoner to their actions. Your freedom doesn't begin when others treat you better. Your freedom begins when you understand that nothing from the outside can truly harm you unless it finds a home inside you first. That's the battlefield no one talks about, the unconscious. The parts of you haven't seen yet, the wounds you haven't healed, the truths you haven't dared to face. And until you understand what's hidden in the shadows of your own mind, those shadows will continue to run your life. That's what we're going to unpack next. Get ready to go deeper, because that's where the real transformation begins. If this resonates with you, if this is making you pause and think, consider subscribing to the channel. Your support means more than you know. Now let's keep going. Here's a lie the world has sold you, that you are in control of your life. Wake up. You're not, at least not while you're living on autopilot. Not while you're reacting to things without understanding why. Not while you're drowning in emotions without knowing where they come from. Not while you're making decisions you later sabotage. Jung warned us, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And that's exactly what's happening. Right now. The pain you feel, the anger that explodes from nowhere, the sadness that creeps in without warning. These aren't random. They're messages, warnings, coming from within you, from parts you've ignored, silenced, or tried to bury. Jung called this unseen world the unconscious. It's not just some cloud of vague ideas floating around. It's an active force. It's a system made of your memories, your traumas, your fears, your unmet desires, and the things you don't want to look at, but that quietly run the show. Ever wonder why certain words can devastate you while others brush it off? It's because those words touch a nerve in you that's still raw, still alive. And if it's alive, it means you've never faced it. You've only swept it under the rug and hoped it would disappear. But Jung said we cannot change anything until we accept it. Condemnation doesn't free you. It only keeps you trapped. Yet how many years have you spent condemning yourself, silencing yourself, judging yourself, as if pretending it doesn't hurt would make it go away? The truth is, the unconscious doesn't vanish just because you ignore it. It only finds sneakier ways to express itself. It shows up in toxic relationships, in self-sabotaging patterns you can't seem to break, in anxiety that floods you when life seems fine. This isn't bad luck. It's your unconscious banging on the door, trying to wake you up. But you keep hitting snooze. Do you really want to be someone who's no longer ruled by hurt? Then stop running from what lives inside you. Because until you understand your own unconscious, you will always be at the mercy of your emotions. And the harder you try to protect yourself from external pain, the more exposed you become to the pain within. But there is a way forward. And it isn't through defense. It's through integration. Becoming untouchable isn't about resistance. It's about deep, unapologetic self-knowledge. That's what we'll dive into next. Most people think the only way to avoid getting hurt is to build walls, to pretend, to toughen up. They hide behind masks, armor themselves in indifference, and tell the world, I don't care anymore. Nothing bothers me. I've grown cold. But the truth inside, they're still bleeding. Inside, they're still corroding, because the problem was never about feeling too much. The real problem is not knowing what you're feeling or why. And that confusion, it only exists in people who haven't truly gotten to know themselves. Jung said it best, know all the theories, master all the techniques, but as you touch a human soul, be just another human soul. And that human soul you keep trying to lock away behind this tough, untouchable persona, it's crying out to be seen. Becoming emotionally strong isn't about shutting down. It's not about numbing yourself to life. It's not about avoiding conflict, ignoring pain, or pretending you're unaffected. It's about integration. It's about acceptance. It's about dragging into the light everything you've spent years burying in the dark. You don't become untouchable by putting distance between yourself and the world. You become untouchable the moment you realize no one can touch what you've already fully embraced within yourself. When you've accepted your shadows, your fears, your insecurities, your so-called flaws, you stop reacting to every little thing. You observe, you choose. You no longer operate on autopilot. You're no longer a puppet pulled by unseen emotional strings. That's real freedom. Jung called this process individuation. It's the path of becoming who you really are, not the version of you shaped by others' expectations, not the persona you constructed to earn approval or survive social judgment, but the raw, unpolished self that emerges when your light and shadow finally meet. Individuation isn't about becoming better. It's about becoming whole. Not perfect, not flawless, not immune to feeling, just whole. Because here's the secret nobody tells you. The more you run from pain, the faster it chases you. The harder you try not to feel, the more fragile you become. But when you face your own wounds head on, when you accept the messy truth of who you are, the good, the bad, the noble, the shameful, nothing outside you holds the power to dismantle you anymore. However, this path, it's not for the faint of heart. It demands courage. Courage to look inward, courage to strip away the masks, courage to finally feel what you've spent years avoiding. Because it's through pain, not despite it, that you'll find your doorway to transformation. And that's what we're going to unpack next. How pain, far from being your enemy, can become the gateway to your greatest strength. Let's go deeper this time without fear. You were taught from a young age to hate pain. You learned that suffering was weakness, that tears were a waste of time, that sensitivity made you soft. So you ran. You avoided. You numbed. But the more you fled from suffering, the more it disguised itself, showing up in new, subtler forms: anxiety, anger, apathy, boredom, self-sabotage, urges you don't understand, choices you regret, spirals you can't seem to stop. Pain doesn't vanish when you ignore it. It just digs deeper tunnels beneath your surface until one day it collapses everything you've built on top of it. Jung saw pain differently. He believed pain is the soul's messenger, the unconscious ringing the alarm bell, the self in its entirety trying to get your attention. He famously said depression is like a woman in black. If she turns up, don't shoo her away. Invite her in, offer her a seat, and listen to what she wants to say. But what do most of us do? We don't listen. We distract ourselves. We stay busy. We numb. We scroll. We run. We do anything but sit with what's really there, asking, what is this pain trying to tell me? The truth is, suffering hurts so much because you're still at war with yourself. Part of you wants to grow. Part of you wants to stay exactly the same. There's something deep within you crying out for change, but your ego, terrified of losing control, keeps trying to strangle that voice. That tension, that battle. That's where pain is born. Because change hurts, growth hurts, letting go hurts, releasing old identities, cutting toxic attachments, surrendering outdated beliefs. All of this is a kind of mourning. It's death and rebirth happening inside you. But within that ruin, something new can finally grow. Because when everything you thought you were comes crashing down, when you're stripped bare of defenses and distractions, that's when you finally meet your real self. Not the mask, not the performance, not the version you crafted for approval, just you, as you are. And at that exact moment, suffering transforms from something to fear into something sacred. Because it brings you face to face with the only thing that can set you free, yourself. Jung understood this better than anyone. He knew suffering isn't a glitch in the system. It's part of the process. Pain isn't the end. It's the invitation to begin. But most people, they turn back at the edge of that darkness. They run. They distract. They cling to the surface. But not you. Not if you've made it this far. Because if you're still here listening, it means you're ready to cross. Now we step into deeper territory few people have the courage to enter, and even fewer have the strength to complete. The journey of individuation is not a pleasant walk through sunlight and comfort. It doesn't offer guarantees. It doesn't flatter your ego. In fact, its very purpose is to dismantle that ego. Jung described individuation as becoming who you truly are. But what he didn't sugarcoat is this: to become who you are, you must first unlearn who you thought you were. And that hurts more than any rejection the world can throw at you. Because somewhere along the way, you started believing you were your achievements. You were your traumas. You were the image you crafted so carefully to earn love, respect, acceptance. But all of that, it's just scaffolding you built to survive. And surviving is not the same as living. Individuation calls you to leave survival behind. It drags what's been hidden, your deepest fears, your repressed desires, your distorted beliefs, and brings it all to the surface. It demands you stop clinging to the you the world expects. It forces you to meet the raw, trembling self beneath the mask. Jung wrote that the persona must dissolve. That's the mask you wear for convenience, to fit in, to play a role in society. Tearing it off feels like tearing off your skin. But underneath, that's where your real strength waits. This process doesn't make you untouchable because you stop feeling. It makes you untouchable because you've already been through the fire. You've already faced your monsters. You've stared into the eyes of your shame, your loneliness, your suppressed anger, and said, "I see you. And you no longer own me." That's what gives you clarity. That's what gives you unshakable strength. Not bravado, not perfection, but lucidity in the face of your own darkness. From this place, you don't crave constant approval anymore. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to perform strength because you know who you are. And no one can take that from you. True emotional armor is not a shell. It's a core. It's not about guarding yourself from pain. It's about becoming whole, integrating every fractured part of you into a center so steady no storm can truly reach it. You'll still feel pain, but it won't break you. You'll still face wounds, but you won't lose yourself to them. Because you've stopped living in reactivity. You've stopped existing on the surface. You've begun inhabiting depth. But with depth comes a cost: loneliness. Not because you'll be alone in a literal sense, but because few people are willing or able to walk this road. Most are still trapped in the surface world of masks and performances, terrified of feeling too much. When you start freeing yourself, you inevitably drift from those who haven't. But understand this: that distance isn't arrogance, it's maturity. You're not leaving people behind out of pride. You're stepping forward because you no longer fit in the spaces where you once hid. Growth pulls you away, not out of cruelty, but necessity. Which brings us to the final point of this journey: consciousness as protection. It's not strength that shields you, it's clarity. Because once you can clearly see what lives inside you, your triggers, your wounds, your patterns, nothing outside you holds power anymore. No word, no rejection, no betrayal has the ability to shatter you unless you hand it that power. This is the heart of it. Nothing from the outside truly breaks you. Only the parts of you left unseen, unhealed, unclaimed, hold that ability. Consciousness strips them of their control. And consciousness isn't a one-time awakening. It's a daily practice. It's choosing again and again to look inward even when it hurts. It's taking ownership of your emotions without blaming others, your past, or fate. Jung put it simply: what you resist persists. What you accept transforms. Think about how much of your life has been spent resisting. Resisting fear. Resisting the ache of not being enough. Resisting loneliness. Resisting the anxiety of feeling invisible. And what did you do with all that resistance? You hid. You tried to control. You tried to perfect. You tried to toughen up. And all of it, every last exhausting effort, brought you right here. Tired. Burned out. Worn down from fighting the world and yourself. But now you know true emotional immunity isn't hardness. It's clarity. It's not about building thicker armor. It's about expanding your awareness. When you understand your inner world, your wounds, your patterns, your history, the outside world loses its grip. You still feel, but you don't drown. You still ache, but you don't crumble. And that changes everything. What protects you isn't guarding yourself from life. It's plunging deeper into it. Those who live on the surface get tossed by every passing wave. Those who dare to dive find the calm beneath the storm. The silence, the stability, the quiet, steady power waiting in the depths. That's where you're headed. And when you start living from that place, from integration, from presence, from acceptance, the world may still try to shake you, but it no longer knows where to land its blows. If this message has stirred something in you, if a part of you feels like it's waking up, write it here in the comments. I choose awareness. Let's build a space for people who no longer want to survive through pretense, but want to live through truth. And don't forget, this journey doesn't end here. The next video continues this path, and if you've made it this far, you owe it to yourself to keep going. Real transformation only begins when you refuse to stop at the first step. See you there.